Why we try to control everything, and why it never works. Buddha's answer. There's something many of us do without even realizing it. We try to control life. We try to control how people see us. We try to control the future. We even try to hide our true feelings. Sometimes from others, sometimes from ourselves. When something goes wrong, we tense up. We think, I need to fix this. Or we tell ourselves, I shouldn't feel like this. But have you ever stopped to ask, why? Why do we try to control so much, even when we know that nothing stays the same? This isn't a new problem. Even in the time of the Buddha, people were afraid of change. They held tightly to people they loved, to success, to peace, even to their spiritual progress. The Buddha didn't just say, let go. He understood something deeper. That deep inside, humans believe control will keep them safe. So maybe the real question is not how to let go, but why we hold on. What are we afraid of? And what might happen if we stopped clinging? Let's take a gentle look at this habit, not to blame ourselves, not to fix anything, but just to see clearly, maybe for the first time. Chapter 1. Why we try to control life. When we are young, we're often taught that control is something good. If we study hard, we'll get good grades. If we behave well, people will like us. If we plan carefully, we won't face problems. Over time, our mind starts to believe that controlling everything will keep us safe. If I can manage every part of life, maybe I won't feel pain. But this way of thinking doesn't stop. We begin to control our emotions too. We try to hide our anger. We pretend to be happy, even when we're not. Our mind becomes like a tired worker, always thinking, always fixing, never resting. The Buddha understood this very deeply. He said, people driven by craving run here and there, like a rabbit trapped in a snare. The rabbit isn't bad, it's just afraid. The more it tries to escape, the tighter the trap becomes. And we do the same. The more we try to control everything, the more trapped we feel. We also think that control means stability. We believe, if I don't take care of everything, everything will fall apart. This thought brings stress. It feels like we must carry the whole world with just our two hands. But real stability doesn't come from holding on tightly. It comes from seeing things clearly. And seeing clearly doesn't mean we know all the answers. It means we can see what is really there, without fear or confusion. There's a story about a young monk who once asked the Buddha, "How can I control my thoughts?" But the Buddha didn't give him a method or a trick. He simply asked, "Can you stop the wind by grabbing the air?" That question says everything. Thoughts are like wind. Emotions are like wind too. They come and go. If we try to catch them, we only create more struggle. This idea isn't only in Buddhism. A Greek philosopher named Epictetus once said, "Some things are in our control, and some things are not." The problem starts when we forget which is which. We try to control things we can't, like what others think, what will happen tomorrow, or even how our body feels. And the more we try, the more exhausted we become. There's something even deeper, something we almost never question. It's the belief that there is a me who controls everything, like a person inside, running the show. But if we look carefully, what do we see? We find thoughts, memories, emotions, habits, but not a solid, unchanging self. There's no little person inside pulling all the strings. The Buddha once told a monk named Bahiya, "In the seen, there is only the seen. In the heard, only the heard. In the sensed, only the sensed. In the known, only the known." What he meant was simple, but powerful. What we call I is not one thing. It's just a stream of experiences, always changing, moment by moment. There's no need to imagine a controller inside. Modern science says something similar. Neuroscience shows that the brain isn't a control center with a tiny person inside. It's more like a flowing river, always moving, never still. So if there's no fixed me in charge, who is trying so hard to control everything? This question can feel strange at first, but it also gives us space to breathe. Maybe the one trying to control isn't a real self at all. Maybe it's just an old habit. A habit we learned from others. A habit created by fear. But like any habit, we can learn to see it. We don't need to fight it. We don't need to erase it. We just need to observe it. With honesty, with care, and with understanding. Chapter 2. Why Control Always Fails. If control really worked, we would all feel calm and safe. But most of the time, we don't. The more we try to control everything, the more tired and stressed we feel. Even when things seem to be okay for a while, it never lasts. Plans fall apart. People change. Our bodies get older. Life moves on, and it doesn't ask for our permission. The Buddha understood this very clearly. He said, "All conditioned things are impermanent." This wasn't just an idea. It was something he saw and felt for himself. Everything that is born will change. Everything that comes together will one day fall apart. Even the good moments, like peace, love, or happiness, they don't stay forever. It's not because we failed. It's simply the nature of life. This truth can feel a bit uncomfortable, but it's not something negative or unfair. It's just how the world works. Like fire gives heat, or water flows. No one can stop change. Not a rich person, not a poor person, not even the Buddha. And this truth doesn't belong to Buddhism alone. Science agrees. In physics, everything is always moving. Even things that look still, like a rock or a table, are full of tiny particles moving inside. So even if something looks stable, it's really not. It's always changing, just in ways we can't see. So when we try to make life stop moving, it's like trying to freeze a river. We're fighting against nature, and this fight is what makes us suffer. That's why trying to control everything doesn't just fail. It also hurts. Think of someone trying to hold sunlight in their hands. No matter how tightly they close their fingers, the light always slips away. It was never something they could keep. In the same way, when we try to hold on to control, we feel the pain of losing things again and again. Not because life is bad, but because we hoped it would stay the same. There's a story of a monk who told the Buddha that his meditation was peaceful and perfect, and he wanted it to stay like that forever. But the Buddha smiled and told him, "Let go even of the desire for peace." Because if we try to hold peace too tightly, it becomes another kind of stress. True freedom isn't about keeping good moments forever. It's about understanding that all moments will pass, and feeling okay with that. When we try to control everything, we feel tight. Not just in the body, but in the heart, too. We stop seeing clearly. We start to believe that life is something we have to fix, not something we can learn from. We run after safety in a world that was never made to be controlled. And because of that, we often miss the quiet beauty that's already here. There's another problem with control. It blocks real understanding. When we're always busy managing our thoughts, emotions, and plans, we don't leave space to see clearly. We become focused on what should be instead of what is. It's like looking through a dirty window. The view is there, but we can't see it clearly until we stop wiping, stop stressing, and let the glass settle on its own. Stillness isn't something we force. It's something that appears when we stop fighting. When we let go of control, even a little, things become clearer. Not because we made them clear, but because we stopped making noise. There's a gentle saying in Taoist teaching: the soft overcomes the hard. It may sound poetic, but it's true. Water, even though it's soft, can wear down strong rocks. Grass, though light, can break through stone. Our minds are like that too. When we stop pushing, we discover another kind of wisdom. Quiet, gentle, and deep. It doesn't shout. It doesn't force. It simply watches, understands, and moves when the time is right. Chapter 3. What happens when we let go? Letting go doesn't mean giving up. It's more like changing how we hold things. Instead of forcing life to follow our plans, we start to let it move naturally. That doesn't mean we stop living or caring. We still make choices. We still love others. But we stop holding on so tightly. We stop asking life to be exactly how we want it to be. Something peaceful starts to happen when we loosen our grip. Even just a little. When we stop trying to control everything, we begin to notice what's really happening. Our awareness gets stronger. Before, we were always busy, planning, fixing, trying to feel better, judging ourselves. But now, there's a quiet space, a soft presence, like someone watching calmly without needing to change anything. The Buddha never told people to control their minds like robots. He said, "Be a lamp unto yourself." That kind of light doesn't come from pressure. It comes when we stop covering it with fear and craving. Imagine standing in the middle of a storm. The wind is strong, the rain is cold. Usually we want to run or fight it. But now, instead of reacting, we stay still. We don't resist the storm. We just feel it. We see it for what it is. Just movement, just sensation, just passing. The storm is still there. But we're no longer lost inside it. This is not just theory. Anyone who has sat quietly, even for a few minutes, knows how noisy the mind can be. But if we stop trying to fix the noise and simply watch it without reacting, something starts to change. The mind becomes calmer. Not because we forced it, but because we didn't feed the chaos. This way of seeing is soft. It doesn't need force. And as it gets clearer, we start to feel less need to control anything. In Zen, they call this beginner's mind. It's the kind of mind that doesn't pretend to know everything. It looks at each moment as fresh, new, without labels, without struggle. A leaf falls from a tree, and in that simple image, there is a deep truth. Nothing in nature fights against change. So why should we? There's a story of a young monk who sat quietly under a tree, just watching the leaves fall. He wasn't doing any special technique. He wasn't trying to reach enlightenment. He was simply present. And as he watched, something inside him relaxed. He saw how each leaf let go without fear, how the wind carried it with ease, how the tree didn't hold on or complain. It just let the season pass. In that moment, the monk understood something no book could teach. Letting go doesn't feel dramatic. There's no loud moment, no magic fireworks. Real freedom feels soft, like breathing with ease, like walking without fear, like thinking without stress. It's not about becoming perfect. It's about carrying less. We start to realize that the things we hold, the fear of mistakes, the pressure to control, the need to always be right, are heavier than we thought, and it gets tiring to keep holding them. Even the Buddha had days when his body was in pain or the weather was hard, but his mind stayed free. One time, during a strong storm, the Buddha sat under a tree, calm and still. A nervous monk asked him, "Why aren't you afraid?" The Buddha smiled and said, "This body may be shaken, but the mind does not cling." He didn't say the storm wasn't real. He didn't pretend he didn't feel anything. But inside, there was no fear, no resistance, just a quiet knowing. This too will pass. Chapter 4. The Buddha's Real Answer. There is a quiet strength in a mind that knows how to let go. Not because it is cold or uncaring, but because it sees clearly and stays soft at the same time. Letting go doesn't mean we stop loving. It means we don't hold on so tightly that we become scared to lose. When the mind stops clinging, it finally feels free to breathe. At first, this idea might feel strange. We're so used to holding on, to people, to ideas, to plans. We're trained to fix, protect, and control. But the Buddha didn't say we must push life away. He simply said, see things as they are. And when we see clearly, something begins to shift. We understand that real peace doesn't come from making the outside world perfect. It comes from a mind that doesn't need everything to be perfect. Think of your hand. If it's clenched into a fist, it can't hold anything new. But when it opens, it can hold, release, and touch, all with ease. The mind is just like that. A clinging mind is always tense, always comparing, always protecting itself. But a free mind is like the open sky. Thoughts come and go like clouds, but the sky stays open and calm. This doesn't mean we stop feeling emotions. In fact, we start feeling them more deeply, but with less fear. When joy comes, we enjoy it without needing it to stay. When sadness arrives, we welcome it without pushing it away. This happens not because we force ourselves to be calm, but because we start to understand how the mind works, how it holds on, how it resists, and how that creates suffering. One day, a young man came to the Buddha. He was worried about the future and said, "I can't stop thinking about what might go wrong." The Buddha picked up a small leaf and asked, "Is this leaf heavy?" The man replied, "No, it's very light." The Buddha said, "It's light because you're not holding it." The man was silent. He understood. When the mind lets go, not out of frustration, but through wisdom, it becomes light again. It starts to rest. And when it rests, something gentle begins to appear. Kindness, patience, clarity. We don't have to create these things. They are already inside us, waiting beneath the noise and tension. This is something many people discover in meditation. At first, they try to stop every thought. They want the mind to be silent. But real silence doesn't come from fighting. It comes when we stop pushing. We sit, we breathe, we observe. And slowly, the mind settles. Not because we made it, but because we allowed it. The same is true in everyday life. We want people to act a certain way. We want success, comfort, and certainty. But all of these things change. They are like the weather, always moving. When we understand this deeply, we don't stop living. We just stop depending on life to always follow our plans. That's the power of a free mind. It still responds to the world, but no longer reacts in fear. You might ask, if I stop holding on, won't I lose everything? The truth is, we lose things anyway, even when we cling. The difference is, a free mind knows how to lose with grace. It knows how to feel sadness without breaking. It knows how to love without becoming attached. And it knows how to face uncertainty without panic. There's a quiet beauty in that. It's not dramatic. It's not about showing off strength. It just means we are not pulled around by every emotion. The Buddha once said, like a rock that doesn't move in the wind, so is the wise person among praise and blame. This isn't coldness. It's inner balance. And from that balance, real compassion begins to grow. When we're not stuck in our own fears and needs, we can really listen to others. We can truly care without needing anything in return. Our kindness comes from stability, not from conditions. A heart that isn't always reacting has more space to love. This kind of mind is possible for anyone. It's not just for monks or spiritual teachers. It begins with one small step, noticing. We ask ourselves, what am I holding? What am I afraid to lose? And slowly, we begin to soften. We see that freedom isn't far away. It's not in another life. It's here, in this moment, when the mind is clear, gentle, and at peace.